how did you start the limited edition?
Yeah, so it's an interesting story because I like to take the full credit for the limited edition, but I actually can't, because it was one of our friends, collectors, that one day came to me and he went like, Pietro, what are you doing still working for other companies? Why don't you set up something yourself? There is a big gap in the market. Nobody talks about the independent watchmakers, and online is a bit of a far west still for luxury watches, dealing and trading and promotion. And so, yeah, I decided to take the challenge on board, and to this day, that collector is still a shareholder of the limited edition, as I am. So it's a story of friendship and passion for independent watchmaking. And I believe with a lot in common with what you guys do in California with Collectiveology.
Yeah, it's funny. I started Collective together with Asher, who's been my best friend, since we were 12 years old. We met in the homeroom in 7th grade. And one of the things that kept us connected as friends as we grew up and we went to university in different places and moved to different parts of the United States was watches. And we were members of a watch collectors group, and as part of that group created a few collaborative watches with brands. And when we did that, all of a sudden we realized, there's something here. There's something to the idea of creating a group of watch collectors that is really organized around and unified by the watches they share and doing collaborative projects with brands. And so we went out on our own, we started Collective, and that's exactly what we do.
Yeah, the collaborative projects are really, in a way, the heart and soul of experiencing independent watchmaking, I find. We've been through some incredible collaborations with watchmakers that honestly very, very few collectors would have heard about. And that really educated us first and foremost about the relevance and what our passion meant actually in regards to independent watchmaking. I know you guys have been involved with many successful projects, and I like to think that this one we've been involved together, James Lamb Azure. In 10 years down the line, we will look at this day as a pioneering day in a way, because James Lamb really is not only an independent watchmaker, I would define him as an underground independent watchmaking, to the point that I don't think that more than a bunch of collectors in the world would have heard about him.
I think what makes collaborative watches so special, aside from being limited in quantity, but what really makes them so special is you get to, with a group of collectors, lift up the curtain and look behind the scenes and understand not just what a watch looks and feels like on a showroom floor, but what the process is of actually making it. It's a way to kind of get greater exposure to what happens behind the scenes in the world of watchmaking. And that's been exactly the case with James. I think we were floored by the reception to the collaborative piece, because in explaining how the project came together and explaining what goes into the watchmaking and helping people understand what makes the project special, it shines a light on what James does that's unique and different in a very different way than if you just saw his watches in a retail showroom or online. And I think for our members, what really lit them up about James was his focus on handmade cases, beautiful silver handmade cases, and the time, effort, and energy that goes into that. So often in watchmaking, we think about the case as an afterthought. It comes from a supplier
Absolutely.
somewhere.
We would turn a watch before even looking at the dial at times, wouldn't we?
And that's what's so cool about James, is he's approaching watchmaking and independent watchmaking in his very own and unique way, with his own point of view, which is to say, right, the focus here is on the outside in. So we're going to start with a beautiful Argentine silver case. We're going to have a beautiful handmade enamel dial. James makes his ceramic subdials by hand as well. And the focus and the craft goes into parts of the watches that maybe other watchmakers don't spend as much time, effort, and energy, but that's what makes all of them so interesting and so cool. They all have their own point of view and way of approaching watchmaking.
Absolutely. It's fantastic to be here today in London for really a celebration of independent watchmaking. One of those that we particularly enjoy is when we manage to introduce a new watchmaker to the audience of passionate connoisseur collectors around the world. And it's been a treat, I found, to take the time to educate, to explain, and to create a quantity of pieces that is enough for people to have a thought and a second thought and really go through the process of understanding this different approach that James is bringing across.
I think the other thing that's so cool about a project like this is typically if you're going to order a watch from James, if you want an Origin series watch, they're made to order. And the lead time, each watch is made by hand, by James himself, and the lead time is about 4 to 6 months accordingly. And by doing this project together with James, we've been investing in this project over the last year, and the watches are ready now. So it's a really unique opportunity to get something that's rare, to get something that's handmade, but also, to your point, that's available now.